Welcome to a presentation on Texas agriculture, where we will talk about and learn all about your everyday groceries and unexpected heritage behind them. First, let's do a little bit of thinking. Ask yourself, what is agriculture to you? Is it farming and the reaping of land for its produce? Or maybe it's ranching and cowboys in the Wild West. However, do you really believe that these two combined are even the whole entire picture of agriculture and all it is to our country and state? No, this is definitely not the whole picture of Texas agriculture. Agriculture in our state and country is an important sector of the economy, and the nation itself falls behind us in our accomplishments and agriculture dreams. Based on this, Texas might as well be one of the top agricultural states around. To support this, let's go over a couple of background facts. Texas has the highest number of farms and ranches in the nation with 248,000. And 84% of the land area of Texas is rural. Also, in this video, we will go over the 3 types of agriculture impacts that you will need to know: social, political, and economical. Before we start getting into detail, we're going to have to go over the basics. Ranching first began in southeast Texas, and according to the Texas Department of Agriculture, Texas is the leading state in the nation of cattle, hay, sheep, goats, mohair, and cotton. And other important cash crops that are grown here are grain, sorghum, corn, wheat, peanuts, rice, soybeans, and vegetables. Did you also know that grain sorghum could also be used to make a sort of popcorn-like snack? However, we will only be going into detail on cattle, cotton, corn, and wheat. During the Civil War, Texas farmers left their farms to fight in the Confederate Army. Although the Southern economy was crushed after the Confederates lost to the Union, while the Texans were away, the Longhorns had multiplied to a number of 5 million cattle. However, without the market to sell these Longhorns, the cattle had no value in the South and would need to be brought to the North, where they would be given 10 times more value than in the South. From 1867 to the 1880s, cattle business was at its best, from railroads, refrigerated rail carriages, and the removal of Indians from the plains for more land. Afterwards, cattle trade fell because of the experimentation with cattle breeds that could not thrive on open range. Settlers had settled in the plains, a critical 1883 drought, less demand for beef, and a devastating winter term from 1886 to 1887. Also, before the 1850s, when beef was valued and got ranchers wealthy, cattle were used for skins and tallow, which is beef or mutton fat. Today, the commodity cash receipts from 2012 for cattle were $10.5 billion. In 1995, there was a population of 15.1 million cattle and cows, and it led the nation's cattle. Cotton was first grown in Texas by the Spanish missions, and a report from 1745 recalls that several pounds of cotton were produced annually from the missions. In 1849, there were 73,000 bales, which are 500 pounds each. In 1852, Texas was ranked the 8th cotton-producing state. But note that there were 31 states at the time. The removal of Indians greatly increased the amount of cotton in the 1850s to 60s, while the forthcoming Civil War decreased cotton production. However, barbed wire in the 1870s and railroads brought production back up. In 1879, 284,000 bales were produced in 1879. In 1872, immigrants from the Deep South and Europe began to flood into Texas to grow cotton. They commonly worked as tenant farmers and the sharecroppers of landowners. While working, they would live off of the landowner's property and supply their own draft animals, tools, and seed, and after a year of work, would get 2/3 of the cotton's value. Cotton would be planted in the spring, cultivated in the summer, and hand-picked in August. In 1884, Robert S. Munger invented the ginning method called system ginning, which is automated instead of animal power. It used Cotton compresses would reduce bales to about half their size for shipping convenience. These were built near railroads, and telegraphs further pushed cotton production. Cottonseed was used for cooking oils, holes for cattle feed, and portions of the plant could be used to create early plastic. In the 1920s, cotton production began to decline from events like the introduction of synthetic fibers, the federal government's control program, and World War II, which shortened labor and disrupted commerce. But during the Great Depression before that, farmers had produced more cotton because they returned to their farms after World War I. After World War II, cotton planting, cultivation, and harvesting was more mechanized with the use of steel and rubber, which decreased the need for tenants and sharecroppers. Cotton culture today has less but larger farms, less labor, increased irrigation, pest weed control, and modified plants for easier harvesting, as well as more cooperation between farmers. In 2012, the commodity cash receipt was $2.2 billion, and today, Texas is the #1 producer of cotton. Corn provides over $3.5 billion and 22,000 jobs in the High Plains region of Texas alone. The planting season begins in mid-February and ends in mid-June. Did you know that there are 4,200 purposes for corn? 96% of corn is used as animal feed, and other purposes are sweeteners, starch, oil, and used as an ingredient in almost everything you eat: crayons, clothing, bedding, and carpet, and also fuel or ethanol. Next, we're going to look at grain sorghum. Texas is the largest producer. Wheat. Texas is the third largest producer of wheat in the nation, where 3.4 million acres are harvested. Cash value to farmers is $288 million, and there's $973 million for the Texas economy. Wheat today is genetically modified to resist fungal diseases like rust, mildew, septoria, leaf blotch, and viruses. Wheat was first popular and abundant in the Upper South since the 18th century. However, yeoman farmers introduced wheat into northeast Texas during the Spanish period of time. Texas. By 1860, wheat was much more successful in the northern Blackland Prairie than in the Upper South. Lastly, let's talk about agriculture and politics and social impacts. Farmers have a different political need than the average citizen and rely on a representative to represent them. The first modern Farmer Labor Party was created in 1918 due to World War I creating an imbalance of agricultural prices, wages, and increasing retail prices. Today, farmers are still concerned with the lack of a farm bill in America. Socially, agriculture connects farmers throughout Texas by cooperation and their goods. Thank you for watching.